I will say this though, dude. When it comes down to the actual armor that they've added here, I feel like Bungie, and maybe this is a critique where you can pick up on it, but I was talking about this with Drexus Animations earlier, and I coined the term Guardian Punk, which is basically to say that it's kind of like the armor that we see here, where it's a bit like beat up and bruised, and like there's clear battle wearing and scratches, and some of it's a bit baggy, and it's in stark contrast to what we got in a lot of Destiny 1, where a lot of our armor was smooth and built to fit and felt a lot more sort of slick. Or if it wasn't, it was playing on a similar kind of aesthetic with a very noble feel. You know, you had things such as the Iron Banner, Rise of Iron, Iron Lord's armor, and the other side of things would be sort of taking cues from none of this and would be the actual trophies of our enemies. So that would be things like our raid armor, you know, the strike uniques that we got. And the cool thing was that you could build around any of these aesthetics, but I feel like Bungie has leaned way too hard on things that are either a little bit mundane for what they end up being, or alternatively, they lean on Guardian Punk. And that's kind of a thing that I feel, at least I know that in my circles of friends and amongst myself, I would very much appreciate armor that kind of returns to that sleek Destiny 1 feel.
You're definitely not alone with that.
Yeah, and also, like, it's okay to explore themes, I just really want them to be interesting, right? So, King's Fall, right? The armor behind King's Fall, the Titan armor looks absolutely incredible. You know, you're a miniature war priest, you've got the helmet, which is just like this giant jaw of something.
One of the best,
and it makes a ton of sense. Yeah. Like, Vault of Glass, the Hunter, Vex where leg. You actually had an entire Vex leg, right? And that plays into lore and stuff, but, you know, you flowed with the aesthetic, right? Like, that made so much sense. All of these different armor designs, it goes into the thing of you want to wear what you killed, right? Fast forward to, say, Wrath of the Machine and Last Wish. I actually really like Last Wish armor, but I think that still misses, like, a really big... it misses a really big opportunity. Of not being a Hamkara bone, right? Like not literally being covered in the bones of the thing that you killed.
It was all an Eververse, unfortunately. Right? The Ahamkara armor set was the Eververse armor set of the season, which was, you know, why a lot of people were unhappy about that, because you have this kind of very standard looking set, but what you would expect from a raid with the final boss being an Ahamkara, you would expect to be able to wear some Ahamkara bones. You wanted an entire, you know, skull of Ahamkara, just an armor set, but that was in Eververse, which was definitely, It was
And on the flip side of things, go ahead and take, say, I said Wrath of the Machine earlier. That's not actually what I meant. I meant Scourge of the Past. Scourge of the Past, you get Black Armory gear, which thematically does make sense, but it's a raid against Fallen that have taken advanced technology and grafted it. So why not play on that theme? I would much rather come out of that raid looking like one of the Berserker enemies than looking like what I did.
Yeah.
Because instead of playing into the pristine theme of the Black Armory, why not play into this thing where it's saying, hey, the Fallen took this Black Armory tech and grafted it to their own stuff, and it's actually pretty powerful. I'm going to throw that on my shoulder.
Yeah.
You know, like, they could have explored the themes of taking what our enemy has so much more. Like, back in Taken King, Luke Smith hit it on the head.
I was about to say that.
Wear his ass as a hat, right? Like, that they've got to return to that philosophy. Wear his ass as a hat is the number one thing that players loved about strike uniques, about raid stuff.
Yeah, it was.
One, like, these are things that are good. And, like, by that same token, it makes some sense then that you have raids that can have slightly different rewards. Like, what's it called? Galran. What raids? Crown of Sorrow. Like, Crown of Sorrow's rewards, I think, are pretty good. Like, I understand the theme, and I understand the reasoning behind them being there, and the fact that they're not completely Hive makes some sense, and I'm totally okay with that, because it's this opulent reward from Callus. Like, it fits in with everything that's going on there.
Yeah.
And to be completely honest with it, the fact that it's a mix of a Hive Cabal raid, in terms of all the placement, makes sense for it to have that different armor set. But, like, yeah, we need to get back to wearing our enemies' asses as hats, basically.
You hit the nail on the head with that, which is something I hadn't really... Because obviously the armor design in Destiny 1 versus Destiny 2 has been a long... People have been talking about this for a long time, just about how... I guess it's mainly Destiny 1 players, because, as you said, but I never thought about it in the way that you put it then. You definitely hit the nail on the head in that a lot of the Destiny 1 armor was based off of enemies and just stealing their stuff and kind of just fashioning it. But in Destiny 2, it seems... armor in Destiny 2 seems more like thematic, like you said. It's based on the destination or the theme or the enemy. But I feel like in Destiny 1, the armor was a lot more just wild and random, and as if the designers just took a bunch of... They weren't too set on fitting a theme, and they just like, you know what, let's just have Darkblade's head as a helmet.
Exactly,
there you go. Boom.
Dude, right?
Does it look good? Or the Maul's Maulers just...
What better example than Darkblade helm? Like, not just of the whole wearing your enemy's ass as a hat, but also of making something truly iconic, you know? Like... It was literally something where you could take the aesthetic of your enemies and you just ran with it, you know? And players loved that because that strike made an impact. I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
You know? More of that, please. God, how I would love to take something really cool, like, say, a helmet for Warlocks that looks like Brachion from the Pyramidion. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's basically the Vex Hydra head with like the little antlers behind it, but there's a multitude of them. How cool would that be as a strike unique? I'd trade my Silicon Neuroma in for that any day, dude. You know?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I never really thought about it like that, but yeah, that is probably the best way to summarize it, is that a lot of Destiny 1 armor was based off of just scrapping stuff off of your enemies, but Destiny 2, it's a lot more themed based. Not to say that all the Destiny 2 armor is bad, because there's definitely some great looking armor, but for the most part, it's very sensible and very kind of, I guess, not as, you know, flamboyant and random as Destiny 1 was. But yeah, Destiny 2, but it's been a long running complaint. And of course, we can't not mention probably one of the biggest areas with the Hunter Cloaks. Definitely. Well, I guess to be fair, most of them, even the Warlock Bonds. Warlock Bonds, would you say?
Bonds are a lot less showy than they used to be, and I'm very sad about it. You know, like,
and Titan Marks are a bit...
Titan Marks are hit and miss. Like, I don't know. I feel like hunters have some good cloaks, but by that same token, I'm not a hunter main, so I completely understand where the complaints come from, because you had the speaker cloaks for starters.
I was about to say. I was literally about to say, I just envision the colours ones.
D1 Vanilla, you had great stuff.
Yeah. Literally, the speaker's inventory in D1 Vanilla has some of the best cloaks in Destiny history. Like, all those designs, so good looking.